Hey guys, it's Sentrial here, and I wanted to welcome you back to another video. Today, I want to talk about champion identity. I really want to get into how utilizing a better understanding of champion identity can help you in your solo queue games. And finally, I want to talk about how the idea of identity can really play a role in your life and help you make real life decisions. So let's get into it here. What is champion identity? Well, I think champion identity is what makes the champion feel a certain way and the way you think when playing that champion. So, understanding your champion identity will guide you in your decision making throughout a game. The thing that really resonates with me when I think of champion identity is it's knowing what you're about and what you're trying to get done. Right? Certain champions want to approach the game in a certain way and want to play the game in a certain way. So, understanding your champion identity is kind of understanding what decisions you want to make, why you want to make them, and being able to say no to plays that aren't in your favor. So a few different obvious examples of champion identities, maybe like split pushers, team fighters, assassins, roamers. These kind of ideas, these general concepts may apply to a lot of different champions, but champion identity really gets more specific as you get into the kits and the strengths of the champion. So I know a bit of this is kind of sounding theoretical, and I wanted to get into example in just a second. But first, I want to talk about reference points, and because reference points really line up with the champion's identity, right? So what I've kind of have here is that a champion's identity will work in tandem with reference points and game state in order to help you make decisions, right? So you'll kind of take these three different variables that are very linked in many ways, and then you'll have a decision that you want to make in the game that aligns with all of these variables. So let's get into our first example here, and it is of me playing Talia, a champion that I love. And this is quite a while back, but it was the first time that I really started to understand why champion identity was so important because I was just not utilizing it at all. Okay, so here we are actually in the example now. So this is me playing Talia against Oriana. I'm not the strongest, but I'm definitely very strong, and I work very well with Volibear and Bard because we're very quick and mobile and can really shut down a lot of the range champs they have, like Soraka, Oriana, and Kindred, who kind of can just all get bursted by us, right? So in this specific example, it's about 20 minutes into the game, and we just spawned the Herald mid and are looking to, I guess, push down this tower, right? So we can kind of just see how this clip plays out. I kind of walk forward and I'm looking for an aggressive play. I think I can make it. I kind of miss the W. Bard goes very deep. Kind of everything just, everyone kind of just throws all their stuff at the Kindred and she gets her ult off. And we end up kind of just dying here, right? And this is very bad considering the dragon's going to be up very soon here. I think within the next 30 seconds or so. Yeah, so this is quite a bit of a throw. So when I look at this, right, I see a very clear lack of understanding of my champion's identity, right? So let's go over Talia. What does Talia like to do? Well, she likes to set up her objectives first. She likes to control river and control chokes, and she likes to utilize the fog of war to make sure that she can land her combo and burst people from that range. And what am I doing here? Well, I'm literally running that at them straight through vision down mid lane trying to look for a pick, right? This is very the opposite of what Talia wants to do. And yeah, I can, go down the mid lane and push for the Herald, but I don't want to be taking a fight around here. And I'm baiting my team in to try and like go for this really deep play while doing this when I could very easily take it back, clear the vision throughout the bot side river here, set up for dragon, and then I have a free objective and a free team fight waiting for me down the way. So this is why champion identity is so important because you can throw a lot of games just because you're taking plays that don't align with it. So what we can see from that clip is a lack of understanding of your champion's identity will lead you to make choices that are not in accordance with it, and it'll end up making the game much harder for you to play. We can see that if I don't understand my identity, I'm kind of just gonna look around the map. I'm in very like free flow. I'm like not thinking about what I want to do, what I'm trying to get done. I'm just kind of seeing plays and making them no matter what, right? And this is how you take bad plays and end up throwing games, or you're unable to come back into games because you have to utilize your strengths as a champion and utilize the identity to make sure you're taking the right fights, taking the right plays. Now, one important point I want to bring up is adaptation, right? I believe a champion's identity is not one specific solved idea. Like, as long as you're committing to the identity that you believe the champion has, then you can have your own interpretations of, what kind of plays you want to take and how your champion's identity leads into that. Now, of course, this doesn't work for every champion, right? Like, if you're playing Ivern and you're split pushing, you're probably not going to have a good time. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some Ivern split push enthusiasts out there, right? But as long as he's committing to it, it's probably going to give him more success than not. The idea is that you have to put everything into the identity to make sure you're coming out on top. And this is why I want to bring up this game state part of this formula that I sort of have here going, because the game state is going to be so crucial in making sure you come up with the right decision. Because there are going to be times where the game state will force you to make decisions that will not be perfectly in line with your identity. So a couple examples I have here are like if you're a split pushing champion, but you need to group for a specific team fight, or maybe you're a dive champion that needs to peel. So say that you're the strongest split pusher in the game, but you're also in that specific game, you're the only strong member on your team. And you know that if you group for a specific dragon, then you can win the fight for your team and you can, and from there you'll just be winning the game. So there you have to kind of adapt your identity, right? Like yes, you're a split pusher and maybe that will be the decision that you want to make most of the time, but in that specific scenario, you have to just group and play for the team. Ari as a champion is a great example because she's very, very adaptable in what she could do, right? She can dive and be like a one-shot assassin. You can play her as like a front to back, with Leandries and just play like max CDR and burn through the front line. You can play her as peel if you have a Fed 80 carry and you need to just kind of peel with the charm. And in that way, right, identity is not solved, and it's very, very dependent on the game state and making sure that you're reading the game state properly to make the right decisions. So now I kind of want to get into my favorite thing to do, which is tying this idea into your real life. So in the same way that you have to understand a champion's identity to play in a game of League of Legends, you also have to understand your own identity to help you make decisions in real life. Knowing what you're about or what you're trying to get done in your life is going to help you achieve your goals. Because when you're faced with a decision, you can look to this identity within you, right? You understand like what you're trying to get done, what you're about, and you can easily make a decision. Well, maybe not always easily, but you can make a decision that's going to best help you get to that goal. So Dr. K or Healthy Gamer actually has a great video where he talks about identity. It's a New Year's resolution video. He talks about how we should strive to develop a positive identity in ourselves, and also we must believe that we are that identity. I'm going to play a quick clip from that video just so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about here.
Like, think about your identity. So who am I? And to try to develop an identity that's positive. So I'll give you guys just an example. We have an identity of ourselves. I'm going to just be harsh here for a second. So I am an out of shape nerd. Doesn't mean that nerds are out of shape, but we'll identify with some of these things, right? These people are trying to be something else. But you sort of fundamentally like don't believe that you are this like better person. Like you think you're a loser who's trying to lose weight. So at the core, you have an identity that's sort of sabotaging you in the quiet moments because on some level you don't believe that you can do this kind of thing. I want you guys to like tell yourselves, I am an athlete. So then as you go about your day, like ask yourself, what would an athlete do? Just ask yourself, like in this moment, like when you're thinking about what to eat, if you're an athlete, like just what would an athlete eat in this situation? And I'm going to be that thing. Like you can be that thing. Because what's the difference between a scholar and a loser? It's like the choice that they make, right? Like if we look at someone who's an athlete, it's like the food that they put into their body, the way that they like treat their body. Like, do they take care of their body on a daily basis? And if you start doing those things, you will be that thing. I know it's kind of weird, but it's actually really simple and it's actually like bizarrely easy.
I highly recommend watching the whole video. It's a great video. Link will be in the description. But you can kind of see from the way he's talking about identity, it's who we are is defined by the things that we do. An athlete is just someone who trains, right? And there's nothing that separates, like this person is an athlete if they don't do that thing. And I think it's more difficult to kind of see that within us, right? That the only thing that separates us from being what we want to be is our decisions. We often think of ourselves as this set in stone thing, and we can't become something else, but really the only thing that's separating us is the decisions that we make. When we think of our role models, we often say things like that's just how they've always been. They've always just been a top performer. They've always just been driven. They've always just had motivation to accomplish these things. And I think that we often lose sight of seeing ourselves in that same way. Why don't we just say, I've always just been driven, or I love to take on challenges, or I just push myself every day. Just being that person. Like why don't we think of ourselves in that way? And I think being that person begins with a mindset, right? Begins with a belief that you can become that person or that you already are that person. You just have to unlock it within yourselves. And I think that this is why this message is so powerful here, is because it is the idea that we can wake up one day and the only thing that separates us from being someone that takes on challenges and accomplishes goals and does hard things every day are the decisions that we make throughout that day. As long as we choose the hard path rather than the easy one, as long as we choose the right path rather than taking the easy way out, then that's just who we are. So if you're looking for some advice from a 21-year-old that has no idea what he's doing, then I guess that would be to find out who you want to be. Do some introspection and really ask yourself, who do you want to be? What do you want your identity to be? And you have to ask yourself why that is, right? Because the why is what's really going to drive you and motivate you to be the person you want to be. Then once you have your identity and kind of figured out, and of course it doesn't have to be perfect, you're going to find and you're going to adapt and you're going to slowly refine yourself as you go and make decisions. So then, when you're faced with decisions throughout your life, both large and small, you can always use your identity as a guideline, right? You can always make sure that your identity is what's driving you towards your goals. It's what's driving you to be what you want to be. I think it's just such a powerful tool that you can have in your toolkit, just to make sure that you're always pushing yourself towards where you want to go. So that's all I have for you guys today on Champion Identity. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you learned more about Champion Identity and you can use this better understanding, both in your solo queue and your life, because that's what I love to do at the end of the day is apply League of Legends concepts to real life because there are so many different parallels that you can draw. If you have any suggestions on other topics you'd like me to cover, I would love to hear them, and also any feedback you have on these type of videos is greatly appreciated because I would love to make more. So that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys back with some more content.